Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. Minister of Education, the Honorable Reverend Ronald Thwaites, has not spoken publicly since all the controversy swirling over his call to action sectoral presentation. He does so now on Issues and Answers. We thank you for your company. Minister, good to have you on the show. It has been said, Minister, that you have not shown enough respect for the collective bargaining process, and that your announcements in the sectoral presentation having to do with leave, study leave, and other entitlements to teachers shows that kind of contempt for the collective bargaining process.
I don't agree, Ian. I have respect for the process and great respect for the teachers and their association. In respect of the matters covered in my sectoral address, all of them have been discussed with the Jamaica Teachers Association over a period of a year.
1 year.
And the minutes of our regular meetings and the records of our private meetings will indicate this. In the final analysis, it is the Minister of Education who has to make the decisions on matters which are left to the ministry's discretion by the Code of Regulations. And what we are asking to be done are entirely within the Code of Regulations. So there really isn't
within the present code.
Present code, the 1980 Code of Regulations. Yes, the question of study leave, the question of the ratios of teachers to students. These things are for the ministry's discretion, and that is what we have relied upon.
Was it clear to the Jamaica Teachers Association, Minister, that those year-long discussions had come to an end, or you were about to make a decision, even though the discussions with them were inconclusive? Or were they caught by surprise?
I don't think they could have been caught by surprise. In fact, I invited them to come to a meeting with me before I finished crafting the speech. They didn't find it possible to come. I did the same with the parents, and I did the same with the churches, who are major partners in education. Remember that we have just subscribed to an IMF agreement, and the letter of intent includes very serious obligations on the part of the education sector. In fact, I went beyond, I think, what was my remit, and shared what those concerns, what those obligations were in the IMF letter of intent, even before it became public knowledge. This is with the JTA, because I felt it important for them to know what we were facing. So there's always room for further discussion, and of course my door is open, but I do not think that the leadership of the JTA could claim to be taken by surprise.
Would those stipulations of the IMF have to do with more than just the retirement of teachers? We know about that and what IMF feels about that. But as the IMF expressed itself on issues like leave entitlement, reduction of leave, that kind of thing?
Yes. Yes.
IMF has.
Yes.
And you made that known to the JTA even before you made it known publicly?
Yes, I did. I don't want to say that we are forced by the IMF.
Yes, I know.
We are doing things that, in the interest of the efficiency of the education system and the rebalancing of this huge budget that we have, we must do. And we want to do it as far as possible by consensus. But yes, the rebalancing of leave entitlements is specifically mentioned, as is the teacher-student ratio, as is the issue of retirement, which in my view is the most controversial issue and which has not been taken up.
No, yeah.
But these are things that simply looking at the amount of money we spend, how we spend it, and where we need to change if we want different outcomes, and God knows we need different outcomes. These have been the substance of our discussions.
On the matter of the increment, the annual increments, Minister, would you agree that perhaps you have overstretched in that area?
In my speech, I indicated that I felt that the increments, not this year, but going forward, would have to bear a measure of relationship to performance. I had not discussed that with the JTA, and that is a matter of which would have been taken up at the Ministry of Finance in the collective bargaining exercise. As a matter of principle, I put it to you and put it to all Jamaica. Can anyone get an increase without relationship to their performance? Can we continue to do that in any environment?
But that has been traditional in the public sector.
It may have been traditional, but is it defensible? That is the issue. If that would be for public sector policy to determine.
Have the offensive remarks by past presidents of the Teachers Association, Minister, made you less amenable to amicable discussions with the JTA?
No, man.
What's your spirit toward the JTA and its leadership, past and present?
I respect a body that represents the teachers of Jamaica or any sector in education, and my door is open. Obviously, discourse is only helpful if it is civil and respectful, and I'm sure that anyone on whichever, from whichever element that breaches that will set it right.
Yes. And you do not hold the view that the Ministry of Education has been trying to overstep its authority and to encroach on areas of responsibility of the Ministry of Finance?
No, check the code. And I discussed these issues with Minister Daly before I made my speech.
You did?
Yes, yes. And I'm reinforced by discussions since then as well.
Minister of Education, the Honorable Reverend Ronald Thwaite, speaking about some of the controversial issues surrounding the sectoral presentation. He will tell us more about the substantive issues when we come back from a short break.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica. Original.
Welcome back, Minister of Education, the Honorable Reverend Ronald Thwaite, speaking to us on issues and answers. Minister, your speech was entitled A Call to Action. Tell us about the critical elements of this call to action. Why is this an urgent call?
First of all, Ian, because education is the foundation of any hope for personal advancement or for national advancement. We could plead for investment from anywhere, in any area. If you don't have an educated workforce, a socially adjusted workforce, a spiritually conscious workforce, yes, population, you're not going to be able to sustain that investment. So education is the #1 investment of the country. It hasn't been recognized as this always. It's been seen as some kind of social good, separate apart from the economy and so on, without realizing how pivotal it is. And I felt it necessary to bring back that clear focus. Secondly, the government, on behalf of taxpayers, and the public, parents, sponsors, spend huge amounts on education. It is the biggest business, public or private, in Jamaica.
75 billion?
Oh, that's just on the government side.
Yeah.
Put a multiplier to what private individuals spend, and you will realize how extensive it is. If we were getting the results, yes, that we need, that individuals crave, then it would be fine, but we're not. 50%, between 30 and 50% of our preschool children are not adjudged ready for primary school. They are on an escalator of failure if that isn't changed, which is why we have to do it right the first time. The emphasis, the increased attention and money to early childhood and special education. We cannot afford to disrespect our children with special needs anymore, any longer. In primary school, the grade 4 results are not inspiring. Only a third a little more than a third achieve mastery in numeracy, so critical to science and technology, which is the future of our economy, employment. Our literacy rates, there still is a third of our students who aren't reaching there, yes. And the GSAT results, again, I call it an apartheid system, separates people according to their scores between the better schools and the newer schools, yes. And when we get to this, to the CSEC level, the results are abysmal. It's about 20% of the total cohort who are getting a pass in mathematics, and perhaps 10 or 15 points more in English. Yes, this leaves a huge deficit, which gets picked up in unemployment statistics, in productivity declines, in economic cramp, and unfortunately ends up in the jailhouse, the dead house, and the house of disappointment. We have to, there is need for a call to action. It involves not just teachers or government, it involves everybody.
Why is there this critical need for reform with leave entitlements? What are the figures that graphically highlight this need?
Every year, approximately 10% of the teaching force is on long leave or study leave. That amounts to round about 2,500 teachers. These, if the education system is to run well, efficiently, demand a replacement at a modest replacement figure of $1 million per year. Yes, you're talking about 2.5 billion every year. And this, in fact, the real figure is quite often much in excess of that. Now, teachers need plenty of time to refresh themselves. The normal working year is 260 odd days. Teachers have 190 contact days in class, that's what the code specifies. And in addition, they have generous leave facilities, sick leave, departmental leave, casual leave otherwise, and every few years, every 5 years for teachers, a terms leave, which can be accumulated. Now, these, I'm not going to criticize how these came to be. All I'm saying is that we have to ask for a better adjustment of those terms of leave. I'm not taking away anybody's leave, but if you are paid for 12 months, then perhaps you can take some of your leave during the time when you're not in class. I don't think that's unreasonable. If you want to go on study leave, can we make sure that the course of study, at all, if at all possible and convenient, doesn't take you out of the classroom where a replacement would be necessary? These are the positions that I have advanced, and they are, I think, necessary for the rebalancing of our education budget.
Thank you very much, Minister. There are other crucial issues in the education portfolio that we need to deal with, and the Minister is going to be back next week for us to deal with those matters. We thank you for your company on Issues and Answers. Until next week, Ian Bourne wishing you a pleasant day.